From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
A nationwide school nurse shortage in the middle of a pandemic. What that could mean for your kids during this upcoming school year, coming up as we continue our series, Safely Back to School.
And Democrat-leaning groups target Republican Greg Gianforte in a new series of ads. Coming up, our Mike Dennison looks at how much you can believe in the hotly contested race for governor. 6:30 here on this Friday morning. Caitlin Corbett and Matt Elwell. We were talking about earlier, there's been a little fluctuation of the temperatures this morning.
Yeah, it was fairly warm when you came in. Now temperatures have dropped off a little. It's really not bad overall, right? Most areas still into the 50s. A couple of 40s, 48 degrees this morning in Ennis. Good morning to you, 51 in Dillon. Futurecast does paint the potential of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm. We're not talking severe weather. We're not talking a lot of coverage. Mainly forming over the mountains during the heat of the day and falling apart pretty quickly as we head into the evening, and most of us will stay dry. Beautiful shot there as we're starting the morning. Our daytime highs will be near 90 degrees. Drink plenty of water and take frequent breaks if you're spending time outdoors today. And for the weekend, we're going to break down your weekend forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt. The Federal Aviation Administration tells CBS Seattle that one person is dead and two are injured after a small plane crashed east of Ennis yesterday. That plane was a twin-engine Cessna 337 Skymaster. The plane went down in mountainous terrain. It was en route from Helena to Jackson, Wyoming. A passenger in that plane was able to get a call out for help. The Madison County Sheriff's Office and Gallatin County Search and Rescue responded. A ground crew was able to locate the plane at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. A helicopter was then used to take victims from the scene. The FAA and National Transportation Safety Board are still investigating. 6:31, a school nurse shortage in the middle of a pandemic. Does that sound like a problem? Public health officials say it is, especially as parents across the country consider how to send their kids safely back to school. This morning, Chris Conti continues our series of reports with a closer look at what might happen at your children's school if there isn't a nurse to be found.
Of all the equipment you might find inside a school nurse's office, nothing compares to the value of the school nurse themselves.
Is it safe to return to school?
Linda Mendoza oversees the National Association of School Nurses. As she thinks about empty classrooms beginning to fill back up with students, she can't help but be filled with anxiety.
We don't have a roadmap for this. And so I think when you don't have a roadmap, that makes it a little more challenging.
School nurses will be playing a critical role in the reopening of schools. They're being asked to monitor kids for COVID symptoms, and in some cases help health departments with contact tracing if an outbreak occurs at a school. But a nationwide school nurse shortage puts a lot of that in jeopardy.
In the midst of a pandemic, there should be a school nurse in every school, and there is not.
Nationwide, 25% of schools will be starting the year without a school nurse, a statistic that is particularly troublesome to health officials in the face of this pandemic. What's driving the school nurse shortage? For starters, pay. The average school nurse makes about $46,000. There's also a simple funding problem. School nurses are often the first to get cut when districts need to eliminate positions. The need is so great that the National Association of School Nurses is advocating for 10,000 new nurses in the next federal stimulus bill.
How will we reduce transmission of illness if we don't have nurses there to assess COVID-like symptoms?
Jenny Gormley and Doreen Crow are both school nurses in Massachusetts.
And the essential role of the school nurse is so important that there needs to be a full-time nurse in school every day at all schools.
Their hope is that in the face of this pandemic, districts across the country will find ways to support nurses with both PPE and funding.
We all want students back learning face-to-face and in the buildings, but we want to do it safely.
There's a lot of unknowns in all of this, right? It changes day to day.
As parents attempt to send their kids safely back to school, school nurses will be one of the best prescriptions for success. I'm Chris Conti reporting.
Coming up at 5:30, we continue our Safely Back to School series as Donna Kelly talks to mental health professionals about the best ways to help your child deal with anxiety about going back to school. New this morning is another edition of MTN's Political Ad Watch, where we fact-check the contents of TV campaign ads in Montana's top statewide races for 2020. MTN's Mike Dennison is looking at a pair of ads attacking Republican gubernatorial candidate Greg Gianforte.
The ads are from a group financed by the Democratic Governors Association, which, of course, backs Democratic candidate Mike Cooney in the governor's race. The first ad, which began airing earlier this month, slams Gianforte for his alleged support of a failed health care bill, certain tax cuts, and a sales tax.
Gianforte praised a bill that would cut our health care, but give him nearly $800,000 in tax breaks. Gianforte pushed for a tax cut for rich people like him, giving himself $3 million. But he pushed a big sales tax for Montana.
The bill he supposedly praised in May of 2017 was congressional Republicans' attempt to repeal parts of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. The bill ultimately failed in the U.S. Senate. In a conversation with lobbyists after the bill's passage, Gianforte spoke positively about its passage and efforts to repeal the ACA. But he later told MTN News he would have voted against the bill because he wasn't convinced it would protect rural health care or bring down costs. Also, the bill did cut health care-related taxes on rich people. But for Gianforte, in future years, the impact would have been a lot less than $800,000 a year. The second claim is about state income tax reductions passed 17 years ago that included a credit for capital gains income. Gianforte was a private citizen then and had spoken in favor of reducing state income taxes. In the past 10 years, that credit saved Gianforte about $2.7 million. Finally, the sales tax claim. Yes, Gianforte did speak favorably of one 18 years ago at the meeting of a tax reform council in Helena. But in his campaigns for governor this year and in 2016, he said he opposes a sales tax. The second ad goes after Gianforte on healthcare again.
Yet we could lose our health care because Greg Gianforte supported cuts to Medicare. Gianforte takes thousands in campaign cash from the healthcare industry, gives them billions in tax breaks.
The first claim refers to his vote in Congress in the fall of 2017 for a Republican budget resolution recommending steep cuts in federal spending, including Medicare. Yet those proposals were recommendations, not actual cuts, and largely procedural to help Republicans pass a tax cut bill. The tax break claim stems from Gianforte's vote for that 2017 tax cut bill, which cut taxes for all corporations doing business in the U.S. As you can see, some of these charges are generally accurate, but in most cases lacking context or exaggerated. The question for voters to decide is, what do these positions say about Gianforte as our next governor? Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And you can see Mike Dennison's full analysis of these ads on our website. Well, grizzly bears, of course, are starting to come out of the mountains. One attacked a man south of Shoto this week. MTN's Tom Wiley had a first-hand account from the victim as he recovers at Benefice Hospital in Great Falls. And a warning now, some of these images in the story are graphic.
Shannon Rammel is lucky to be alive.
We got problems with grizzlies up here at my house, and I just got attacked by one.
A chance encounter with a grizzly bear on Monday left Rammel with scars, stitches, bruises, and one heck of a story.
I didn't stand a chance. You know, he come out of there real fast.
It started Monday afternoon when a neighbor spotted bear tracks near the Rammel property.
But her and I, my wife and I, and my little daughter, we had walked, she's 12, her name's Lisa, we had walked over to the pond to look at the tracks.
They were about to head home when Shannon checked out a nearby building where grain was stored to see if any had been eaten.
So I went to the building, I looked in slowly to the right-hand side and didn't see no corn in there. And so I looked to the left, all of a sudden I heard this, "Wah!" And he come flying out of there right off the bat.
Shannon struggled with the bear, but was soon overpowered.
I remember rolling to my belly, and when I rolled to my belly, he jumped on my back and bit me with full force, trying to rip off this shoulder. So I just laid there quietly then because I couldn't do nothing. He was on top of me.
His wife, Jamie, who had returned to the truck with her 12-year-old daughter, acted quickly.
The whole time he's throwing Shannon like a rag doll. So when I punched the truck, he had stopped and he looked at me dead straight in my eyes. And he got off Shannon and turned around and got out of there.
Shannon was in shock, but he wanted to document the immediate aftermath in case he didn't make it.
And you can see my bones, my tendons. He ripped into me pretty good there.
Shannon was life-flighted from Shoto to Benefice. Luckily, he suffered no broken bones, but the wounds on his upper body will take time to heal.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody that's come out to us. They come out to my house, take care of the kids. Everybody, a lot of people are just gracious and very nice to help people out.
The Rammels have 9 children, and this encounter puts the problem of grizzlies on the prairie into focus.
Yeah, this is more bear aware, and it shouldn't be like that. We live on the plains. They have the mountains. They can stay up there.
And that's my fear, is I don't want a bear like that up there around all my children.
So everybody be careful out there.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.
The Rammels believe that bear that attacked Shannon is the same one that they've reported on their property 5 times since the fall. FWP is still trying to locate that bear.
He's lucky to be alive.
Yeah,
for
seriously.
Sure. But it also you got to keep in mind that when you're out in bear country, you need to have the right precautions. We have bear bells on our kids' backpacks and stuff when they have their water pack. What is it, camelbacks?
Yeah, camelback.
We make sure that there's a bell on there, and we always go in big packs.
Yeah, just have a lot of noise. Well, you have a big family, so you
I
guys
know,
are all
they're
set. You got
probably
6
safe.
of you, scared the bear off, but
still take precautions.
Bear spray, water, sunscreen.
That's it.
3 essentials this weekend.
Bear bell.
And all the time. You always need those. 6:40 now. With so many people staying home or working from home or even out of work, energy use in the U.S. is down. After the break, learn what the biggest factor is for lower energy use. First, though, here's a look at what's ahead on CBS This Morning, coming up at 7.
Morning ahead on CBS This Morning, we'll have the latest on the hurricane heading toward Florida. Also, President Trump is floating the idea of delaying the November election. Why he's bringing it up now and the implications of him even raising the possibility. Millions of Americans, meanwhile, could be evicted after state and federal housing programs expired. Hear from vulnerable renters who face an uncertain future. And we talked to 12-year-old Tybri Faw. His reading of John Lewis's favorite poem was a memorable moment during the funeral of the civil rights icon. How he says the late congressman changed his life. We'll see you at 7.